Who is your daddy? I am your father.
You fathers will understand.
My father taught me many things.
I got an idea. How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?
Episode 116 of Fathers of the Grind is here. That's right, you thought episode 115 was the last one. Derek threatened as much last week, but here we are again. Really recording about as late as we can if we want to still get this thing out on time. So
Yeah,
we're still pushing it.
it's been a really busy weekend, like really busy weekend. We had a soccer tournament and I was gone all day Saturday. So when I got home and had to think about recording, I was like, no. The last thing I want to do is talk to Tim. That's the last thing I want to do.
That's fair. Plus, I think you just wanted to postpone having to say yet again, guys, I'm just not really into gaming right now. You know, I don't know what it is.
Gaming's
I don't know. I don't know who I am anymore.
I told the girls in my youth group, I said, I don't even game anymore. And every one of them went, what? What has happened to you? I'm like, I just don't care. I just don't care.
Yeah, you will care. Just the right games need to come out. It's been a very quiet first 2 months of the year.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's very true.
You will care again.
Well, let's talk about what's important. Let's talk about what's most important on this show.
Okay.
And that's
Michigan. Lead us up. What
Michigan won the Big Ten basketball tournament. That's all that really matters.
They did indeed.
Back-to-back Big Ten champions. Very proud of them.
All right, so for people who don't follow college basketball, here's why that's really impressive to me, as someone who somewhat follows it. Penn State, by the way, always a very mediocre to bad team, had a pretty good season.
I was going to say they're pretty good this year.
Yeah, they weren't too bad. They beat Ohio State 3 times, which was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But Michigan beat Michigan State and Purdue, if I remember correctly, in this tournament, right?
Yep.
So
back-to-back.
That is super impressive. Those are the 2 highest ranked teams in the Big Ten. So kudos
they beat
to those Wolverines.
Michigan State once in the regular season. I think they lost the first time they played them. They played Purdue really well. I actually watched both of those games during the regular season, but ended up losing both of them at the very end. So when I saw they were playing Purdue, I knew they could compete with them, but I was like, they're going to lose. Like, I even said that. I was like, they're going to lose. Because Purdue really is, I would say, the superior team. But the way Michigan's been playing the last 8 games, nobody's beating them. So hopefully it carries over into the tournament. But I'm really proud of them. You know, I got real excited when we got Harbaugh as the Michigan football coach. And to be honest, while he hasn't been a complete letdown, he also hasn't even come close to, being what he was claimed to be, this elite coach. But Beeline has been the best hire in a long time for Michigan. I mean, the guy has done nothing but win.
He's their basketball coach.
Yeah.
Right?
And he's done nothing but win since he's gotten here. He's gotten us to the national championship game where we almost won. He's gotten us to the Final Four twice. He's won 2 Big Ten tournaments. He's just done nothing but win.
Back-to-back now, right?
Yep.
Because they won last year too, I think.
Yep. So, very happy.
So there you go. Now's the time to have momentum. Is right before the big tournament.
Yeah, they're like 28-7 this year. I wouldn't have picked.
That's really impressive.
Yeah, with their lineup, I wouldn't have picked them to be 28-7, but they're good.
That is impressive.
All right, so you can skip ahead to 4 minutes, which I'm telling you after the conversation. So you can't really skip ahead to 4 minutes because you're already at 4 minutes. But I just wanted to let you guys know you could skip ahead after you heard it.
That was the public service announcement right there. Guys, if you need to, skip ahead 4 minutes to skip what we just talked about for 4 minutes.
Yeah.
That's the PSA. So kind of you.
Yeah, I'm always thinking
so now
about
there's your sports. There's your sports talk for the month. Now that football's over, it's nice to have something to talk about. But even then, I care more about like the NFL Combine, which is super dumb, nerdy stuff. Like it doesn't really matter, but it's still fun because it's still competition.
Now, do you care for like all the players, or do you just care who the 49ers draft?
I care for players coming out of Penn State. I want all of them to do really well and draft really high. And then after that, I care who the 49ers get for sure. I think they'll end up getting that safety from Florida State. They need some defense. So we'll see.
Mm.
We'll see what happens. But yeah, I think Saquon Barkley might have earned his way up to the top 2 pick, because Saquon Barkley is a beast. He is out of this world.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Denver is going to get Cousins and then try to make a move to maybe get a Barkley or something like that. Although I don't know.
Running back isn't your highest need though. Like they probably need to wait,
Yeah,
get some.
they
value.
probably won't do it, but I think Barkley.
I think the Giants are going to take him at pick number 2. That's my guess. I think the Browns are desperate for a quarterback. That's who they'll take, and I think Giants are going to grab him at number 2, which I wouldn't hate. I'm not like a big New York Giants hater. My father-in-law likes them. My son likes them. So, yeah.
Which son? The one that likes Ohio State?
Yeah.
Terrible taste. Absolutely terrible taste.
He actually he reminds me of you for a number of reasons.
Because he just picks random teams.
Well, first of all, it's because you're both black. That's one of the reasons.
Once you go black, you never go back.
But the other reason he reminds me of you is because whatever the competition is, he's very anti whatever the crowd is doing. So we're all gathering around. We're watching the Broncos play, I don't know, the Raiders or something on TV, right? Because all the Broncos games are on here. And all of a sudden, he's like, yeah, I'm cheering for the Raiders. I'm like, what are you talking about? You've never once cared about name one player on the Raiders. Where are the Raiders even located? And he has no idea, but he's just like, no, I've always liked the Raiders. I'm like, shut up. So he is very like Derek in that he's like, yeah, you guys all like that? Well, guess what? I'm going against all of you guys.
Yeah, that is the rule that I follow.
Yeah, and that's kind of why he likes Ohio State, because I've always kind of hated Ohio State. Some of it's out of jealousy, I'll be honest, because they're always so good. But some of it's just because they're just a rival to
I
Penn
just
State,
still
so.
don't even understand. Like my best friend at work is from Ohio, and she's a huge Ohio State fan. Like every Friday, she wears a Buckeye shirt. And I tell her, I'm like, you look really pretty today, but that shirt is disgusting, so that makes you completely ugly. So I let her know how I feel. But what I don't understand, and I tell her this, I'm like, I don't get it. Your colors are ugly. Why would people even want to root for an ugly team? Like, your uniforms are ugly. Your colors are ugly. Everything about you's ugly. Why would anybody want to root for it or
Your mascot looks like a piece of poop.
Yeah, it's just stupid. I don't get it. And she just laughs and like, no, they look good. I'm like, no. You have to admit their uniforms are ugly. Their helmets are ugly. Everything about them is ugly. But
quick confession. When I first moved to Ohio when I was in middle school and I heard people saying "Go Bucks," I actually thought the mascot must be kind of like the Milwaukee Bucks, like with antlers and stuff. And I was like, that's kind of cool. I think that's kind of a cool mascot. And then it turned out, nope, you're basically a glorified seed. You're a Buckeye.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't get it. All
right.
But and it isn't. And it's not like you can go, well, Urban Meyer made them who they are. No, this is like consistent players just want to play at Ohio State, and I don't get it. I don't get it.
Whatever. That's where the money is. They pay over there.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that.
Yeah. So let's do this. Let's go through a little bit of news and then get to our Ask Us Anything segment. As our buddy Daniel Freitas warned, this is a dangerous idea, Timmy, is what he said exactly. And I don't disagree with him, but we got some questions that we'll go through from you, the listeners. Got in our email inbox, we got on Facebook and on Twitter.
I want to know the percentage of all the questions you got. What was the percentage of questions that were, why is Derek gay?
Well, definitely at least you asked that question.
Did I ask that?
You did ask that.
All right, maybe that's why it's on my mind. Why is Derek gay?
You definitely asked that. I think you're going through like Andy from The Office, that type of conundrum where you're like, am I?
Am I? Wow.
All right, so a couple news things here. Detroit Become Human, the new game from, is it Quantic Dream? Is that the name?
Yeah.
It's coming out on May 25th. We finally have a release date.
I'm shocked by that because I really thought that would be a fall game. I'm not shocked because Sony has been really good about releasing their big hitters in the spring, whereas Microsoft's kind of stuck to the more common theme of always releasing towards the fall. But I am still just shocked because I thought Detroit, I knew it was coming along, but I just felt like it was going to be like a fall game at earliest.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's kind of surprising because now 2 of their most anticipated 2018 games are coming out within
A month of each
35
other.
days of
Yep,
each other.
yep.
Yeah. So you got God of War on April 20th and Detroit Become Human now releasing on May 25th. They've released the cover art and all that stuff, which is a super zoomed in half of a guy's face. Whatever. That'll be an interesting one. I actually don't know. Are you planning on buying that? I'm not sure if that's one that I plan on getting right away.
I'll probably get it digital day one.
Okay.
If I get out of my little gaming funk where I actually really am like gaming consistently, and we'll
Then you'll
see
grab it.
with Far Cry 5, then I'll probably get it.
Yeah, Far Cry 5, Ni no Kuni 2. Some of those will be good tests coming up for you.
Yeah.
If you're interested in getting back into gaming. Nintendo just crossed the 1-year anniversary of the Switch being released.
I know, I got all my
And-
memories from Facebook, and I like got emotional looking at all my first screenshots of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Zelda, yeah, just so pretty. But what happened is people were noticing that the data on their playtime on games, like if you go and look at your profile, you can
Mhm.
see how many hours you put into certain games or whatever. That was being reset
Oh,
after
that
a year.
sucks.
And so people were like, wait, so this had some kind of counter, some kind of something in the setup on the back end of the system there was resetting it back to 0 after year 1. Apparently it's an easy fix. Nintendo will patch it sometime the next 2 weeks. So fret not if you notice your playtime disappearing. It will restore. Apparently Nintendo is saying no data has been lost. It's just a matter of making it present in the right way. You
Okay.
just have to make a
That was
make
what
a
I
tweak.
was gonna ask. Like, it might be a quick fix, but they might not actually give you the data you'd already.
Yeah. This is one of those rare occasions where it sounds like it legitimately is a quick fix, and they're just rolling it into whatever the next patch is going to be
Okay.
in
Cool.
a couple weeks. So fret not if you're the kind of person. I do too. I like to look back and see what have I played and how long did I put into it, that kind of thing. So that information is not going away. Do not worry. Speaking of the Switch, there were some rumors over the last week or two that Diablo 3 might be coming to the Switch, which would be a pretty huge third-party get. Yes, Diablo 3 is several years old, but it is a major franchise, and if Blizzard were to release it on the Switch, I think it would do really well. I think that kind of game would fit really well on that
It's
system.
definitely gonna come out on the Switch. I know
It's-
what they
yeah.
said after people started jumping to, "Hey, this is coming out on the Switch," and they were like, "No, we're not that smart." But yes,
So what they did
are
was they
that smart.
tweeted out a short little video of a nightlight, and I'm not familiar with the Diablo lore, so anyway, it's the demon looking thing
Yeah.
from Diablo, right?
Mhm.
And it's a nightlight version of it, and then someone's hand comes in and flips the switch to turn it off, and it says "Sweet Dreams" or something like that. So that's all they posted without really much context, and so of course people immediately just assumed they just switched off the Diablo light. This is a hint, or turned it on or off. I can't remember. Anyway, the idea was this is a hint that Diablo 3 is coming to Switch. And of course, they immediately responded saying, hey, this was just meant to be a fun community thing. We weren't trying to announce anything. Blah, blah, blah. We have nothing to announce at this time. So who knows? I think that would be a pretty cool addition to the Switch. That's I think that would fit really well. But who knows?
Would you
Who knows
buy
if that's
it?
gonna happen. I don't know. I already bought it on PS4. So I think the smarter side of me says no. If you're curious to play more Diablo 3, go play it where you already bought it.
Yeah.
That's but I don't know. As you know, as everyone listening knows, I enjoy playing on the Switch because it's just handheld. I don't have to hog the whole TV to play it. So I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, and that's a game that would be easy to play handheld. Like, it wouldn't have any issues.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I wonder if I got the hooks of that loot system into me. If I really started to feel that hook, then I could see it happening. Because it happened with Monster Hunter. We'll talk about that in a little bit. That definitely got me. So I wonder if Diablo 3, if I get past
Yeah,
that
but
certain
Monster
wall-
Hunter's actually fun to play. Like, I played Diablo
Oh.
3 recently again. I've started that
Sick
game
burn.
so many times, and I played it with, like, Jesse and Rob and Jamie. Probably, this is back in December, so probably going close to almost 2.5 months ago. And it just was okay. Like, we were just holding down the shoot button or whatever, the fight button, and then you have your little special attacks, and it was just like, okay, this is stupid. And we were just tearing
You really
through
haven't
everything.
played games in a while. You're like the fight button, just holding the fight button down. Sometimes I hold down the play video games button.
I can't believe I said that. My brain
Yeah.
went like completely like blank. I'm like,
The old
Fight
fight button. All right. All right. So we are into March, starting this Tuesday. you will be able to get for PS Plus, assuming you are a PS Plus subscriber, you'll be able to download the following games for free on your PS4. Bloodborne, Ratchet & Clank, Mighty No. 9, Claire, and Bombing Busters. I would say 2 of those are fantastic gets for the PS Plus.
Yeah, I mean,
and Ratchet.
Bloodborne might be my favorite game of this gen. I would say the only thing that can compete with it, like Rocket League obviously can compete as far as just being fun, but I'm talking deeper than that, would be The Witcher 3. So Bloodborne is an outstanding game. I went back to it like about a week and a half ago, just played for a little bit, and I was just like, I love this game. I just absolutely love it.
Again, another reason why 2015 was the best year.
Yep, Ratchet
3
and
games you
Clank
just mentioned.
is outstanding as well. So
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, super fun. So those are great free. If you have PS Plus, do not hesitate to go download those 2 at least. If you have a PS3 and for some reason are still connecting that to the internet, you can download Legend of K for free as well. Mighty No. 9 and I think it's Claire. They also are available either on the Vita or Switch. I'm sorry, Vita or PS3. Sorry, Switch on the brain. Vita or PS3. So anyway, there you go. There's your PS Plus games for March. Pretty good lineup, but really it's those main 2 games, Bloodborne and Ratchet & Clank, are what make that a good lineup.
Yep.
And to compare to that, Xbox Games with Gold for March, Trials of the Blood Dragon, which I still don't know a ton about that. I'm not sure what that is.
It's like, I think it's mainly a Trials game, but with like the Blood Dragon like aesthetics, I think. I downloaded it, I haven't done anything with it yet, but I think it's a Trials game, which I like the Trials games.
I got a lot of family just rolling in here talking at full volume here.
Yeah. So,
All right. You're like, yeah, I'm familiar. I know what that feels like.
Yeah, I have no issue with that.
They're doing snack time.
I do think Trials of the Blood Dragon is a cool game. I mean, it doesn't compete
I've
with
never tried it.
PlayStation.
Okay.
The one I'm actually excited for is Super Hot. I've always wanted to buy it, but just never pulled the trigger. So I'm glad I get it.
Now, if I remember correctly, of course, people love this game in VR, of course, and I have no idea if this means you have it on PS4, you now have it on VR. I think those are 2 separate purchases, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, they have Super Hot, and then they have Super Hot VR. I think it's the same
They're
game.
different.
It's just the VR version.
But you have to buy them separately.
But they are
I don't
like the
think-
VR version is more expensive than just Super
Oh,
Hot.
we're talking about Xbox, so there is no VR. Never mind.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. If I remember correctly, this is one where if you stop moving, everything freezes in place. And like the slower you move, everything moves slowly. So I've heard it's kind of an adrenaline pumping experience. So I am going to give that one a shot. I just want to try it out. An interesting one is they're releasing Brave, the video game based on the Pixar movie Brave. It was a 360 game. They're putting that out on Games with Gold. It's been a while since they've made movie tie-ins. I feel like those don't happen very often anymore.
Not as much.
So Brave is coming out, and then Quantum Conundrum. No idea what that is. That's also a 360.
Would you
game.
say Xbox is being brave by releasing Brave?
They're so brave? They are so
brave because I mean
Actually,
she's
the-
such a
the-
strong female character, so it's really brave. That
She's a very strong female character, and actually tonight, right now, as we speak, the Oscars are happening, and I think we
everybody's
should all
brave.
just-
Yeah, everybody's
we
brave
should all
at
just
the
pause
Oscars.
and acknowledge how brave women are, just
Yeah,
in general.
yeah.
Just so brave.
Could you just actually tell your wife right now she's just brave because she has a vagina? Just tell her that. Just
Hey,
do it.
babe. I just want to tell you that you're super brave just for being a woman. Just super brave. She accepts that compliment.
Yeah,
She likes.
I mean, even if you want to tell her that I think she's brave, just because she's a woman.
Derek thinks you're brave just for being married to me. She goes, well. All right, so let's move on from Courage here and talk about this interesting new addition from the ESRB. If you're not familiar with who they are, they of course this ratings board that puts out the little rating you see on all your games, or at least on most games. And they are adding a new. Hang on one second. Let me wait till my oldest son is done yelling this direction. You done? Okay. They are adding a new description on their rating, which tells you whether or not there's in-game purchases. Now, for anyone who pays attention to the news and video game headlines, you know this has become a thing where there are actually some state governments. I think Hawaii is one of them. They're talking about legislation for some of this stuff, for the addictive quality of some games and how they get people to spend all this money on in-game purchases. So it's kind of an interesting topic anyway, and what's interesting to me is that the ESRB is now weighing in and saying, hey, this is worth bringing to parents' attention because it has caught national headlines.
Well, I think
really
this is a great decision.
I don't think there's anything wrong with this. This won't affect us, the average gamer, at all.
Yeah, we already know when there's an in-game,
Yeah.
like when there's in-game content that you can purchase. I just think this is just really smart to. I think in a way it's a negative thing for publishers to have that on their game, so it might hopefully get them to think about whether they want that type of label on their game before they release it.
I was gonna say the same thing. 100% agree.
To me, it's a
100%.
negative, but again,
For them,
yeah,
which could be a positive for us. It
Yeah.
makes developers think twice about including in-game purchases, and if they do, they better make sure they're done in a not gross way.
Yep.
So yeah, no, I have no problem with that whatsoever. Also, I feel like it does help the parent. So, for example, Derek completely stops gaming. He goes into, I don't know, knitting or whatever it is you decide to do.
yeah, I'm definitely taking that out.
But Eli keeps gaming, and he takes over the podcast with me, and we're talking about games. And then you're not sure whether or not he should be able to get a game or not. And since you know nothing about games anymore,
Yeah.
now you can look at the in-game purchases
Well,
notification on there.
do you, are they gonna put on the box like if they have like a fight button or something like that? Like
They might put that, but you know what? I don't know if you knew this. They actually don't include manuals with games anymore.
Oh.
Usually it's in the game, or you gotta look it up online. Yeah.
yeah, so if they'll put like on the box like ESRB rated mature fight button included, I might buy it.
Yeah, fight button included, in-game purchases included. Yeah.
Fight
Mhm.
button, seriously.
We'll
Fight
get you-
button.
We'll get you covered. That's gonna be the name of this episode. Is
Fight button.
Fight button. All right. You know what's interesting is, speaking of politicians dipping their toes into the video game conversation, with the shooting that happened down in Parkland, Florida, of course, politicians at the state level all the way up to the White House have started to comment on violent video games being to blame for these types of.
Now, are they
tragedies.
blaming them outright, or are they just saying that they could be helping?
Some are, but usually those are same familiar voices many of you have heard before and that have pushed for legislation before. The bigger names, of course, like our president and others, theirs is much more by implication, talking about how, like, for example, this week sometime, President Trump is supposed to sit down with, as he puts it, some major executives from the video game industry to talk about violent video games and what can be done, if anything. And it's funny because I saw a couple of different news outlets report that no executives from Sony, EA, Microsoft, Nintendo, none of them are. They say they haven't heard anything from the White House. So I'm not sure which major video game executives they're talking to. But anyway, the conversation is happening again. And what does this mean for? Go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I thought you were.
You're good.
Okay, so here's my thing, and it's definitely not going to be a popular opinion with gamers because again, they want to protect their gaming, and so they want their games to be how they want them. But
You're not a gamer anymore. So
yeah,
go for it.
well, I don't even care. Like the fight button shouldn't even be in games because that's just automatically violent. But
that is a microaggression. Just having a fight button is a microaggression.
But like my serious opinion on this, and this goes for movies and goes for all, it is quite obvious that there's something inside all of us that is attracted to sex, violence, and all those type of things that inherently aren't always good if they're overdone. So I do get why politicians would want to at least talk about this. First and foremost, are most of them sincere? Probably not. This is just a talking point. But for me, I'm coming at it from a sincere perspective. I do see issues with the way that we glorify violence. And this is coming from somebody who loves violence. I love violent video games. My favorite movies are the most violent movies. Like, that's what I like. I love, like, John Wick. I love watching him, talk? No, I love watching him kill people. So I get it. Like, it's attractive and I like it. But at the same time, I don't think it causes these kids to go out and shoot people. I just don't think it helps kids. I don't think it helps even adults, like, to see it over and over and do it. And we are, to a certain extent, becoming desensitized to a lot of this stuff. And I think there's a reason to talk about it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that I'm on board with the politicians. I'm not saying that they're right and we're wrong for liking our violent video games. I'm just saying I do think it can only get worse. Like every video game is gonna just try to make it worse. Like using Mortal Kombat as an example, and I love the Mortal Kombat franchise. You never see the fatalities in the current Mortal Kombat games, just like Mortal Kombat 1 and 2. Why? Because they have to up their game. Because games have gotten more and more violent. So if you go play Mortal Kombat X, the stuff that you do to characters is crazy. It's super cool, but it's crazy. It's nothing you've ever done in a Mortal Kombat
honestly,
game.
that's the reason I never played that game, because it feels
Dirty.
like yeah. Well, it just feels cruelly violent. And that's the same reason I stopped watching The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Is because that show, in my opinion, went from being an interesting show about zombies and how you would survive and the tough decisions that need to be made. And I like a post-apocalyptic setting, but then it just became cruelly violent to the point where the show creators were just trying to shock.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And disgust us. And I do think some video game creators can be guilty of the same thing. So my argument would not be that we shouldn't talk about it, but I do think, especially those outside of the industry, those, for example, sitting in the White House, it gives them a very easy thing to point to get the attention off of.
That's my issue.
Other organizations.
What we need is the publishers to talk about it, but we also need intelligent, I would say a gamer politician to talk about it. We don't need these idiots that don't know anything. They're just like, oh, violent video games, violent movies, okay, they're bad.
All right, well, let's make a pick then. If you had to nominate one person from the video game industry anywhere in any realm of the video game industry to go represent this entertainment medium in two politicians in this discussion, who would you nominate to go?
I would probably have I don't remember his name, but the lead dude from like Naughty Dog.
Oh, Neil Druckmann.
Yeah, Neil.
Oh, that's a good pick. I like him. My pick would be Phil Spencer, because I feel like that guy can talk from a gamer's perspective. He knows how to communicate to gamers, but he's also an executive.
He's basically a politician.
And he's basically a politician. Yeah, if you watch him, he has skills like a politician does in terms of calmly and concisely communicating what he wants to communicate and making everything kind of sound okay, even if it's like, for example, he made their year last year, which was pretty weak, sound like it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
So he's good at what he does. So I feel like he'd be an interesting one to represent.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
Gamers over there. So that's of course an interesting one that we'll keep an eye on as that develops. And I don't disagree with you that it's a conversation that's okay to have happen. We can't guard things so closely that we never evaluate them. But on the other hand, I think there are bigger issues, not to get political here, in our country outside of simply what kind of entertainment are these horrible people enjoying that we can maybe try to tame a little bit. Well, I think it's deeper than that, although that is something to look at.
Yeah,
definitely. So
can't we just say what it really is? When you have this many billion people in the world, you're gonna have terrible people. So if we really just kill everybody who's not white and male, we'll be fine.
Yeah. Interesting idea.
So my views might be a little bit more extreme than politicians.
You keep talking, I'm just calling the police to go to your house. Hang on a sec.
My views might be a little more extreme than the politicians, but seriously, if you just keep white males around, I mean, they don't kill anybody. White males are the only...
What?
They don't kill anybody. They don't do anything. They're great.
Yeah, it's true.
John Martin's triggered again. Son of a bitch.
None of those mass shootings were done by white guys.
No.
All right, so the new Battlefield game is slated to come this year, and it will be set in World War II.
Wow, that's a shot.
EA has no plans to bring that back to modern day setting, which I think is smart. Battlefield 1 is an excellent game, and so I would totally play their follow-up because I really enjoyed the campaign of Battlefield 1. I thought it was very well done, and I enjoyed it a lot. So,
I hated the campaign, but I enjoyed the multiplayer. Didn't play it like
what
a
I'd like
ton,
to see,
but I still.
You know what I'd like to see some of these games do is think outside the box of we have to do one of the historical wars or we have to do modern warfare. Look at something like Wolfenstein.
Mm-hmm.
I love the way that they combined historical fiction with really futuristic type stuff and weapons, but it's set in the 60s and 70s, so it has a certain style to it. I think that's thinking outside the box. So I'd love to see them do, whether it's a time travel element, something where you can still have the fun and excitement of a Battlefield shooter, but in a setting that you just were like, whoa, I never thought of this as a shooting.
I think they want to keep those like Battlefield, Call of Duty, all that. They want to keep it as realistic as possible.
Very true.
So I think that's their issue.
Except for the zombie mode in Call of Duty, which is probably the most popular mode, right?
Yeah, they just ignore that. But I'm talking about like campaign.
Oh, spoilers for anyone who thought zombies were real. So yeah, it's funny that we come right out of talking about how politicians want to talk about violent video games, and then we go right into what time of period do I want to shoot things in?
Yeah.
All right. PlayStation VR has another great game apparently. What does this make it? 2 now? That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Moss, this adventure platforming puzzle game starring this little mouse named Quill, is currently at an 84 average on Metacritic, which is pretty impressive.
It's only because the mouse is female. If it was a male mouse,
Oh my gosh.
I'm relentless. I'll never stop. If
But you know what's interesting about this game? I don't think you'd like it because they don't have a fight button. They just have a solve puzzle button. That's all they got.
okay. Well, that's less violent, so I'm not
It
okay
is
with
less
that.
violent, so you wouldn't enjoy that as much.
Yeah.
But, if you've got PSVR and it's gathering dust that thing off and go play Moss. It is apparently a very charming little game. So there you go. Go check out Moss. And lastly, I know there's other pieces of news. This is the last one that I'll share for this week. Iron Galaxy Studios CEO Adam Boyes, if you guys recognize that name, that's because he used to work over at PlayStation. He was one of those guys up on the stage at E3 sometimes. He, of course, now is CEO at Iron Galaxy Studios. Before I tell you what
I
their
thought he
statement is,
left like gaming though. That's weird. For some reason, I thought he
went
left
over
gaming.
and he's much more into creating games.
Okay,
and
cool.
I've heard him interviewed on a couple of podcasts, and he's seems like a really cool guy.
I like him.
Most recently, Iron Galaxy Studios brought Skyrim over to the Switch. And they've done a
Okay.
whole bunch of other ports. They've done a lot of PC ports of major games. They've also developed some of their own original stuff, but they do a lot of really high quality ports for other platforms once it's on one platform. Most recently, Skyrim to the Switch, which by most accounts was a great version of Skyrim.
Mm-hmm.
So he publicly requested via Twitter. I'm actually going to read his tweet here if I can pull it up here. Let me just read it to you instead of giving you the summary version. I thought this was really interesting. As someone who's been playing a ton of Monster Hunter World,
Mm-hmm.
Adam Boy's Twitter is slowly loading. It's spinning. I'm just going to have to give you the summary because it's not loading up. All right. Basically, what he said was that...
I have it.
Oh, you got it? Okay, read it.
Dear at Monster Hunter team at Capcom, we understand that porting the game to the Nintendo Switch is challenging, but this is not exactly what at I to the G does. Give us a shot and we won't let you down. But this is exactly what we do. Not this isn't. Okay, sorry. So yeah, he's basically saying this is what we're good at, so give us a shot. Did they respond? Do we know?
To my knowledge, no. The only thing Capcom has said is they fully plan on supporting the Switch with their major franchises, including Monster Hunter, but there's nothing to it. They just said it would be very difficult with a whole bunch of marketing type reasons, marketing type speak, to say why it'd be very difficult to bring Monster Hunter World to the Switch right now. And it was a combination of compatibility with the system as well as the type of audience that's on the Switch, blah, blah, blah. It would be a lot of work, and they have not put any resources towards it.
I do think this game would be more difficult than like a Skyrim. Like
It'd be really tough.
They would have to cut out a lot of the graphics, a lot of the detail.
And you even said, and I don't disagree with you, that it's not the prettiest game this gen. Although it's not an ugly game, I think it's pretty good looking.
I think it's good.
But boy, the draw distance, the monster detail, at least the foliage and the forest and stuff like that, those kind of details would certainly take a hit. And that's all assuming you could keep at least a 30 frames per second frame rate.
Yeah.
It'd be tough, but you know what? If someone could do it, I think that's one of the studios who could probably tackle it. And I'd be curious to see if they would do that. That being said, I would like, now that I've really enjoyed Monster Hunter World, I'm up to like 80 hours in that game. I love that game. And I would not mind having a version of Monster Hunter on the Switch. I don't need it to be exactly Monster Hunter World. Maybe it's a smaller take on it, but I would love it to play like Monster Hunter World. So I don't necessarily want it to feel and play like the older Monster Hunter games, because I've tried those and I never loved them. This one I really, really enjoy. So anyway, there you go. I doubt that would happen, but who knows? Capcom might give them a shot at it. because Iron Galaxy has proved themselves with some other franchises.
Yep.
Alrighty, let's close out our time this week with some questions from our listeners and those who never listen but for some reason still talk to us. So I've gathered a number of questions here for us, and I'm just going to pose them, and then one of us can jump in and answer. Here we go. What's the best country in the world, and why is it Scotland?
It's a terrible question. Scotland's a terrible country. Of course, it's America. Without New Mexico, like if you cut New Mexico out, it's America. United
Well,
States.
you're the one who posted that, right? That Trump wants to keep out New Mexico because he's having enough trouble with the old Mexicans. He doesn't want to deal
He
with
wants
the
to
new
get rid
ones.
of all the. He wants to keep the new Mexicans
just
out since
horrible.
he's still trying to get the old ones out.
That's so horrible. All right.
That's why I
I've never
love
been
the
to Scotland.
internet.
I know maybe 5% of what there is to know about. Maybe like 1% of what there is to know about Scotland, both in terms of history and I don't even know. Are they their own country? I thought they were part
Nobody cares about Scotland.
of
Seriously.
UK. I don't know how any of that works over there.
Just
so.
just tell Mark Allen that he's English and he won't get offended.
Actually, the best country in the world is Wakanda. I just watched Black Panther this past week, and that's the best country.
That was kind of an overrated movie, just so you know.
That was a great movie. You shut your mouth.
It was good, but it was overrated. And we all know, do I have to say it? It's because
Yes, you
they're all
do.
black. That's why it's the greatest Marvel movie, blah, blah, blah.
Dude, don't make me come over there and hit the fight button. I'll do it. I will do it.
If you want to be
It's-
successful, you just have to make it all black and female and you'll win.
You know, I haven't really ranked my favorite Marvel movies. I've seen most of them, but Black Panther's up there for me. I mean, it's not quite to the level of like Winter Soldier and the first Iron Man and stuff like that in my mind, but it was really good.
I thought it was good.
All right. Yeah. Who is your favorite comedian?
I don't have a favorite comedian, but I consider Ryan Reynolds a comedian. Not a stand-up comedian, but I consider like everything he posts, everything he does is hilarious. So Ryan Reynolds is my favorite, I think, human
Like, funny
being.
person?
Yeah, he's my
He's-
favorite human being.
He is pretty hilarious. The Deadpool trailer made me laugh so hard. Dude, Deadpool 2, I should say.
Do you follow him like on Twitter or
Yes,
anything like
he
that?
is
He has
he is
some
hilarious.
great posts. He has amazing posts.
He basically is Deadpool. I mean, that
Yeah.
guy, he's so funny.
He's always been like this, in case people don't know that. Like, from his roots when he started, I remember watching him on Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Shop or
Oh,
something
yeah.
like that. He's
Okay, yeah.
always been this character. This
Yeah,
is
first
just
thing
who
I
he
saw
is.
him in was Van Wilder.
Yeah, which is what he was there, too.
And I love he always had some freshman kid following him around and like the notepad, and he'd be like, "Write that down." Like after he said something really awesome, he would say, "Write that." I love that guy. My favorite comedian is Bill Burr, and it's not super close. I think he is absolutely hilarious. I think he's really smart too. I listen to his podcast a lot. It used to be guys like Brian Regan. At times, I liked Jim Gaffigan the most. So there's other comedians that I've liked the most at other times, but to me, it's Bill Burr. And I just think he's the best. So definitely wear headphones if you're gonna listen around kids, because he does tend to favor some expletives,
Yeah.
but he is very funny. Yeah, I highly recommend. I don't think he's not one of those guys who goes super gross. So he's not a Louis C.K. style, who's obviously we know why he's gross now too. But Louis C.K. tended to let his jokes really go down into the gutter and get kind of uncomfortably gross after a while. Even someone like Dave Chappelle, who I think is pretty brilliant, gets pretty darn gross as he's talking and doing his stand-up routine. Bill Burr, for the most part, just uses the bad language, but very, very funny.
He's not very politically correct either.
He is not politically correct. No, he's not. What kind of car do you drive?
Well, I actually just got a new car for me last week. It's not a new car, it's just a new car for me. It's a Saturn Ion. It's nothing nice. It's just something to get me to work and hopefully not break down.
Is that a
And-
four-door car?
Yeah, I don't have to pay monthly payments, and that's all I cared about. I just didn't want to get anything that I have to pay on.
Yep. But as you guys all know, of course, with Derek and I living together, I drive the Ion every once in a while. But I actually drive like a 2005 Kia Optima. So it's before Kia became good cars. This was when they were still kind of like the cheap alternative. to
Yeah,
Honda.
like when they first released their stuff.
Yeah. So it was an earlier version. So it's not the best, but hey, it's been around for, I guess it's in its 13th year now, and it's still still pretty faithful car to drive around. We had a big old 12-passenger van with our big family, but that was because we were traveling so much when we were out on the East Coast and the Midwest. Now when we do traveling, we're just going to fly and then rent a vehicle. So we don't need this big old van anymore for long trips. So we sold the van, and actually about 2 or 3 weeks ago, we just got about a 16-year-old Ford Expedition. So it's got enough space for everybody. Wouldn't want to take a road trip in it. But exactly like you just described, we went from having a monthly big van payment, and this is a very nice big van, and the payment reflected that. So now that that's gone, we can breathe a sigh of relief a little bit. So
Yeah,
we downgraded the bit, but freed up the bank account a bit. So there you go. All right, this is actually a serious question, because I know that we like to joke around about how you think that indie games are TGT and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
there's a legitimate question. Why do you generally dislike indie games?
I think it goes back to what we talked about earlier with your son, and that's like they became this very popular thing, and I just think they're trash. Like almost every one of them I play is garbage, so I think they're overrated, but I don't like to say things are overrated, so I just trash them. I just think I think most of them are legit garbage. They're try hard. Like, think Frank Clark. It's try hard. It's 100% try hard.
Okay. And I know that that's typically for the pixel style games.
Just even the like Journey. I mean, we talked about Journey.
Yeah,
that is not
right.
a pixelated game. That is a try-hard, trash-ass game. I don't know who wrote that and was like, this is just so good and emotional. It's so stupid, and people playing it, I don't get it. That's one I'll be a judgmental douchebag over. I just don't get it. I think it's so stupid. Ugh, it's so dumb. I hate that game. So dumb.
Okay, now let me ask you this. Would it be fair, because I'm not totally in this camp, but would it be fair when someone's looking at the Souls games to say, the reason I hate those games and I won't really give them a chance is because I think those are try-hard games. And in that, they literally try to be difficult, and everyone loves them a little too much. They give them way too much credit for being these perfect, amazing games. And it's hard. I kind of feel the same way, although I'm not usually like that. But when there's overwhelming, this is the best fighting system ever, and these are the best whatever ever, it's hard for me to really get. I'm like,
I'm not in the camp that the Dark Soul games and even Bloodborne play perfect. Therefore, if you die, it's always your fault. I've never said that. That's stupid. I've played Dark Souls, and there's been times where the camera has been wonky, and I have died because of the camera, or I've hit the button to dodge and I haven't dodged. So there are times where the controls are not flawless. The game is not flawless. Could it be seen as try hard? Sure. Why do I like it? I think it's mainly because I put a lot of effort into that. I think I said it on the show. I studied Bloodborne to get good at it. Like, it took effort. I was at work and I would put up, I think his name's Fightin' Cowboy, and I'd watch Fightin' Cowboy play Bloodborne, and I would study what he's doing, and I would listen to what he's saying, because I wanted to understand the systems. The game's not real good at explaining stuff to you, which is kind of part of the, the attractiveness for some people, is they don't baby you. And so he was helping me learn the systems. Now I can go play most of the Souls games and not have to sit there and go watch like a walkthrough or anything, because I finally got it. But yeah, I get it. I don't have a problem when people are like, oh, Souls games are overrated. I don't agree, but I don't even agree when I say indie games are overrated. I just think they're overrated to us. That doesn't mean they're overrated for everybody.
You don't agree with yourself.
I don't agree with myself.
Disagreed with yourself.
But do you get what I'm saying?
I
like,
totally
for me,
do.
like, if
Yeah.
you tell me you really like a game and I say, bullshit, it's overrated, you really don't like that game. That's, I don't know. I have a problem with that. It's a very condescending, douchey thing to say. Whereas the truth is, yes, I do believe people do just mirror or echo other people, and they'll just be like, oh, these people said the Souls games are perfect? They are perfect. No, they're not. They're really, really, really good if you like that style of game, but they're not perfect. And
That's
indie
fair.
games are trash.
The only reason I asked is because I feel like the Souls games are about as indie as a AAA game gets in terms of it's kind of obtuse. They've got this cult following to it. There's just a
They're
cer-
just too pretty to be indie. Indie's trash.
Right. Yeah, but I think they've got an indie. I can't think of a better word. They have an indie soul to them, the way that they're made. And I could be totally wrong on that, but I feel like a lot of times people who love indie games, think of the Matt Keels and Moose Cools of the world, who love indie games, they also love the Souls games. There's some parallels there, which is interesting to me.
And I
Um,
ignore those parallels.
Fair enough.
I go down my own path, and I like what I like, and indies are not something I like. But
Fair enough.
people can't get mad at me because they know I actually try them. I will still try an indie game if I think it looks interesting. I'm not one of those that, like, I hate every indie game, therefore I won't play them. If it looks interesting, I try them. It's just 90% of the time, it comes out to be what I felt, and that's like, this isn't interesting. This
Listen,
isn't
you're just
fun.
trying to make data-driven decisions. That's all. You're
Yep.
just trying to use the data to make decisions. That's fine. All right. So what is and I'm actually going to extend this to the other major consoles as well. What's an unannounced third-party game that will come to the Switch in 2018? But I'll also ask you, maybe just let's think of some games that are unannounced third-party games for the PS4 and Xbox One as well. So I'll kick things off for the Switch. I do think that Rockstar is going to put out, I'm going to say GTA 5 on the Switch this year.
Okay.
Wishful thinking, yeah, sure, but that's one thing that I think. What do you think will come out on the Switch from a third party this year that hasn't been announced yet? And you can't say Diablo 3. You can't say something that's been hinted.
Let's go with Far Cry 4 will come over.
Ooh. Yeah, I would totally.
I'm
replay that.
sorry, Far Cry 3.
Oh, because they're remastering
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah, I think they'll release it on the Switch. And then
Yeah, I
that
mean,
will lead
Ubisoft
people
is
to
loving
believe
the
Far
Switch,
Cry
so-
5 will come, which I do think Ubisoft will eventually start porting over some of their games.
And then Ubisoft, of course, gets along great with Nintendo. They
Yep.
love Nintendo. So I
That's
can see that
why
happening.
that's why I went with that. Far Cry 3 should be an easy game to get over to the Switch. I think they'll start there, and then you might see. I don't know. They'll probably skip a Far Cry 4. They might try to get a Far Cry 5 on there.
What's an unannounced third-party game that will come to other consoles this year?
This year?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You just don't pay attention to the
Unannounced?
games.
Yeah.
Yeah, unannounced. Here's one I think.
Fight button will come 2018.
Fight button remastered. I actually think that Borderlands 3 is going to arrive this fall.
You really do.
I do. That's my prediction. I think it's going to be an announcement at E3, and then here it comes this fall.
I'm
I
a
think it's been worked
big
on for a while.
Borderlands fan. I would absolutely love to see that game come. But I don't know. I don't know if they don't have a track record of announcing something and then it coming out like 5 or 6 months later, as far as I know.
But then again, what else has that team been working on since the Handsome Jack collection stuff? You know?
Well, they weren't they the ones that worked on. Now I'm forgetting the name. That I was the only person that bought the game. It's
a
Battle
2K game, I
something.
assume.
Yes, Battle. Whatever. It flopped, and you can buy it for like
one
$5.
from the fall, right? Like August, there was something. Was it Agents of Mayhem? Was that?
No. I'll look it up. You keep
Okay.
going.
All right. How long have you guys been living together?
Jeez Louise.
Do you want to take that one, Derek?
2 years.
Mm-hmm. Yep, our podcast started 2 years ago, but we waited till we got through about 2 months worth of episodes before we decided to take the plunge and move in together. So.
The real question is who asked who to move in with each other? Who wanted to take that next step in the relationship?
Well, neither one of us asked the other person. We both actually, what happened was we both made the decision at the same time and went to each other's houses. So I actually now live in Derek's old house and he lives in my old house. It's weird.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What was the very first console you played, and what was the very first game you played when you played that? Something we've talked about in the past, but I'll go ahead and share. The very first console and game that I played was Asteroids on the Atari 2600. I remember that Christmas, I think I was 5 or 6, and we got an Atari 2600 and this kind of cart, or this container, this carton full of Atari games. And Asteroids was the first one that we popped in and played. So that was the first one I ever played. What about you?
I want to say. I mean, I started on. What was the? It wasn't an Atari. It was
Like a Commodore or something?
Intellivision.
Oh, okay.
I definitely started on Commodore first, probably. First game, I don't know. But I'll just do like a mainstream one. The first one would be my NES, and it would be Super Mario Bros.
Which was like mind blowing. I remember
Yeah.
playing that for the first time. That was
I
such a
cannot
great-
find this game, by the way. I cannot believe it. It's Battle something. Oh,
I
it's
kept
probably
going
on
to
my PS4.
Battlegrounds. That's Player Unknown's Battlegrounds. I have no idea.
I feel like
All
it's
right.
Battle something.
And it was published by
Battleborn. Battleborn.
Oh, that was 2 years ago, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Came out 2 years ago, but I
Yeah.
think that was the team that was that works on their.
But it came out in the spring of 2016. I imagine they've had to have had some other stuff in the works. Who knows? I do realize, again, both those things, wishful thinking. GTA 5 on the Switch, Borderlands 3 coming out this fall on Xbox One and PS4. But I like to wishfully think.
No,
every
no.
once
I
in a while.
mean, I'm rooting for it. I have no problems with wanting that one.
I'm rooting for you, man. I mean, I think you're wrong and idiotic, but I'm rooting for you. All right. The question came in.
Fight button.
Did Derek upgrade his microphone recently?
I did not. I just actually, I think it was Audacity like changed my setup, like when I closed out one time and reopened it, and the way it was doing it is, it's now using my headset for recording, whereas before I was using the camera, and so when I move the mic down, it picks it up better. Whereas before, if anybody watches YouTube, and you'll hear it now because I just did it, I usually have the mic up because I don't like it right by my mouth. But now that it's using that to record, it sounds clearer, and well, I sound more manly, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it certainly makes the editing process a little simpler. So I appreciate it. All right. If you could force each other to play a game the other person hates, what would it be? So if you could force me to play from start to finish a game that I either already hate or I would hate, what would it be?
That one's tough because there's two of them. I'm going to give you two. Bloodborne or Dragon Age Inquisitions. Those are the two I'd want you to play through and give them a really fair shot.
Regardless of how I felt about it the first time.
Yeah,
Which
because
of
I
course,
think you're
wouldn't
wrong.
Put it in hate category. Yeah. Okay. All right. If I could force you to play a game.
This is not hard. I hate most of the crap you play.
Yeah, I know. But I wouldn't force you. Well, you know what? Just so I could feel superior that I've actually completed this game, I'd force you to play Celeste. That game is really tough.
Stupid. Another
game's really
try-hard trash.
Oh, that is not a try-hard game. That's a great game. You shut your mouth. That's a great game. All right. What is your favorite controller, your favorite video game controller that you've ever used?
I really like the DualShock 4.
Hmm.
I mean, I have some issues with it, but the way it feels in my hand, although I've been playing Xbox more, so I am getting like more accustomed to the Xbox One controller. But I'm gonna go ahead and stick with DualShock 4. I really like it, and this is coming from somebody who absolutely hated DualShock 3. I hated all their prior controllers. I think PlayStation has some of the worst controllers, but I really like DualShock 4. Feels
Okay.
good.
Yeah, my favorite controller is still the Xbox 360 controller. That's just my favorite one. I still think the button layout and the way it feels, the size of it, the weight of it, it's just perfect. And I still think that I do love the DualShock 4. I actually really like the Switch Pro controller as well. Those are all really good controllers.
It's a good controller.
But the Xbox 360 one is just, to me, it's my go-to. If I could play every game with that controller, I'd be happy. I think that's just one of the best designed controllers out there. A couple more questions and we'll wrap this up. What are a couple other podcasts that you listen to?
For a little while, I listened to the Xbox Bros, I think. I do listen to Game Scoop every once in a while. I've honestly hate to bring it up again, but because I'm not into gaming, I'm not listening to gaming podcasts. I'll listen to ours just to see if we sound stupid, and sometimes I just think we're funny, so I actually enjoy listening to us. But I don't really listen to podcasts anymore. But I would say some of my favorites would be definitely Game Scoop. I do want to give a shout out to, now that I'm bringing up the app, the Alpha Zone. I listened to a couple of their shows. That is Kent's podcast. It's a gaming podcast. It's really good. Kent's a really smart dude. I got to give him credit. I mean, him and I go at each other jokingly a lot, but he's a really smart dude, and he comes across really good on podcasts. Real smart, knowledgeable, even though I don't even agree with him on when it comes to gaming a lot. But that's definitely a show you should check out. And then, like I said, it's the X1 Bros. So if you're an Xbox gamer, those guys are great. There are three guys who are just positive gamers. You will not hear them make a big deal about social justice bull crap. They just talk about games. It doesn't mean that they don't dislike games. There are games that they dislike, but they don't get real dramatic or just stupid over stuff. They're really easy to listen to because they're happy. It's weird.
Yeah.
They're happy.
Yeah. Any non-gaming podcasts that you'd recommend to people? Whether it's
Joe
funny,
Rogan. I like Joe Rogan. I like anything with Jordan Peterson in it. That's it.
Okay. I like Joe Rogan too. I regularly listen to his show. What I like about it is he puts out like 2 or 3 episodes a week, it seems like. And
I feel like he does it every day.
I might only listen to 1 or 2 of those, maybe even less, maybe only like 2 or 3 a month even. And that's because they put good descriptions of who the guest is and what they're going to talk about. And they're also like 3 hours. Sometimes they're like an hour and a half. Sometimes they're like 3.5 hour podcasts. And a lot of times when he has his comedian buddies on, they can be fun, but then it also gets into a lot of inside baseball with comedy stuff and talking about, some comedy place in New York that they all know about. And after a while, you feel like, okay, this isn't a conversation for me. But I do like his podcast. Like I mentioned earlier, I like Bill Burr's podcast as well. He's definitely not PC. I think he's hilarious. It's really funny when his wife comes in the room with their baby, and then those two will kind of just start ribbing each other. It's hilarious. I think it's really funny. So I like Bill Burr's show. I listened to, I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, Pop Culture with Fanboy and Know It All. If you like movies and TV shows, those guys do a really cool job of breaking down top 5 lists and things like that. I like that. I like those guys. If you're into kind of true crime or kind of serial killer history or really anything kind of bizarre, and you want to hear 3 friends / comedians who do their research but also make it very funny, go listen to the last podcast on the left. Again, it's very rated R for its language and some of the stuff they talk about, but it is very insightful, and you'll actually learn about what happened in some of these, again, where the serial killers, and maybe it's the Jonestown Massacre or whatever it was, but they're also very funny. So they make a lot of jokes while also sharing true research with you. So I really like last podcast on the left. Last one I'll mention is Ear Biscuits from Rhett and Link. Those guys are really funny. If you ever watched Good Mythical Morning on YouTube, they also have another show called Buddy System or Buddy I forget what it's called. Buddy something. Anyway, those guys are really funny, and their show Ear Biscuits is just the 2 of them talking about life, and I really like those guys a lot. I think they're funny. And I'm with you. Game Scoop is the only show left by IGN that I listen to every single week. I'll listen to the other ones if the topic seems interesting. But Game Scoop to me is consistently good, although, full disclosure, this not against him personally, but on a podcast, Justin Davis just rubs me the wrong way. I have a hard time with Justin Davis a little bit.
He's terrible.
I tend to agree with his opinion on several things, but it's the way he talks and how often he talks. He doesn't always let the other people get a word in, and he just bugs me a little bit. But otherwise, I think Game Scoop is a high quality and fun show to listen to.
Yep.
So there you go. There's some podcast insights for you guys. Last 2 questions. What March game are you most excited for, Derek? Go.
Oh, just one?
Yeah.
Far Cry 5.
Yeah, me too. That's the one I'm most excited for. I'm curious about A Way Out. and
Ni no Kuni 2 would probably be
Yep.
number 2 on that list.
Yep.
I'm
curious
actually
about Sea of Thieves as well.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about getting MLB if I'm in the gaming mood because I
Oh.
don't I haven't played a baseball game in a few years and I really enjoy the MLB games.
So I'm not a big baseball fan, but I have enjoyed the baseball video games. If that's one you want to split, I could go digital with that one. Try
Yeah.
that one out.
It would be fun. I like doing the My Player. I don't really play, like a season or something, and the My Player portion is really fun.
Interesting. Okay. Last question. Do you smoke or drink?
Smoke pole all the time, and I drink a lot of water.
Fair enough. Yeah. You used to smoke noobs in Rocket League. But you don't play video games anymore. So
I
doesn't
still
happen.
play the Rocket. No, I do not smoke. I did when I was younger. Not like I wasn't addicted or anything, but I would go buy Black and Milds and smoke cigars and stuff like that. I drank more before I was 21. Once I had to start buying alcohol, I stopped. So I don't drink at all now. So for those who think I am anti-drinking for religious reasons, it isn't. It's just because I think it's either terrible tasting or just too expensive.
Dude, what is going on behind you?
What?
Something glowing in your kitchen.
Oh, it's probably Emily's balloon. She has balloons. Are you talking about right over here?
Yeah, it looks like there's an alien that's just waiting in the dark for you to finish so it can kill you.
Yeah, it's a balloon. She has
Okay.
balloons.
That was kind of weird for a second there.
You kind of creep me
no.
out. I'm like, is something like sneaking up on me?
It looked like it, man. There's something kind of glowing back in the corner there. All right. I'm not a smoker, never have been. I've got several family members and friends who that was their thing, but not mine. And drinking just occasionally, usually just socially, but occasionally I'll have something in the fridge if I know that I've got a long weekend, or especially for football season, I love having a couple beers on hand to grab some snacks and a beer while I'm watching a bunch of games on a Saturday and or a Sunday. But otherwise, not really major. My wife and I both, we very, very occasionally drink. Neither one of us are big into smoking. And contrary to what Jose would say, not a pot smoker. Yes, I live in Colorado. Not a big pot smoker. I just, have bloodshot eyes.
Why
I guess.
didn't
I don't know.
anybody ask us if we vape? That's the most important thing. Do we vape?
I'm sure that question came through, but I filtered it out because that's just an insulting, horrible question. What kind of moron would vape? Am I right?
Ron and John.
Do you even vape, bro? All right, well, that does it for episode 116. Derek, thanks for sticking around to chat about news and random questions.
Hey, I didn't
about
have to
us.
talk about video games that we're like currently playing, so we're good because I don't play.
Yeah, I've finished Monster Hunter World, but I continue to level my guy up a little bit. It's still fun to partner up
I actually played
randos.
today. I played some Monster Hunter. I took down Ingenath by myself.
Nice.
I'm starting the process of trying to get Aloy or Alloy, whatever you want to
Yeah.
call her. Her
Yeah, if you
stuff.
need help, let me know. I can run those with you if you're.
Did
Hunter
you
Rank
already
11.
unlock it?
No, I actually have a few more things I have to get for it, so I can help you
Yeah.
knock a few of those out if you want.
Now?
So-
Are you gonna get on right now?
No, I have to edit our show and post it.
Yeah. What a
Yeah.
wuss.
So not now, but a different night this week if you want to.
Yeah, I'll try it.
By the time I faced off with some of the final dragons, I had to get some team people to help me out. But I, for some reason, was able to do the final dragon solo. So all of them, essentially, you start at solo, and I just gave them a shot. All of them killed me, and I had to get some people to help.
Hmm.
But for some reason, the very final one, I was able to kind of hash it. Yeah, 50 minutes to complete it. It took me 45 minutes, and I beat it. I was very surprised by that one. But still more fun to play with others, because after a while, you're just hammering away by yourself.
I
It's
don't.
fun.
I mean, I think it's cool that you did a lot of it solo, but this game doesn't feel like Bloodborne or Dark Souls or anything like that. Like, you can play those games co-op against the bosses, but there's something inside me that's like, if I think I can beat a boss, I want to beat it solo, and then I'll maybe to purge
Yeah.
some souls and stuff like that. I'll co-op it a lot. But this game, I've never felt like, whoa, I really should be doing this solo. Like, I'm like, no, people come in right away. Like, let's go.
I just wanted you to think I was cool for doing it solo. So I just
No,
released
and I
that.
told you. What did I say on Twitter? You are a horrible person or something like that.
Yeah, you didn't give me one moment of validation, which was pretty hurtful.
Yeah, but everybody liked your comment about like what was it? What are you even doing here? Like, what would
Yeah, it
you
was
say
an
you even
Office- It
do?
was an Office Space quote from when the Bobs come in and they go,
Yeah,
"What would you say you do here?"
I would say I troll. That's what I do, and everybody liked your rebuttal, not mine.
Sometimes a GIF speaks 1,000 words. Or whatever.
Yes, yeah.
All right. See you guys next week.
Who is your daddy? I am your father.
You fathers will understand.
My father taught me many things.
I got an idea. How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?